A Brazilian comedian goes to jail for racist jokes. A German politician got naked and invited the citizens on a swingers trip. And new technology will prevent cars from going over the speed limit. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast. I have 3 strange stories from all over the world, and they're here for you. A stand-up comedian was sentenced to prison for racist and homophobic jokes. A Brazilian court just sentenced a comedian named Leo Lins, age 42, to 8 years in prison for charges of defamation and hate speech. These charges stemmed from his stand-up comedy performance in Curitiba. So I guess that's a city in Brazil. At the show, Leo targeted several minority and vulnerable groups. The show was later posted on YouTube, where it quickly went viral. The crowd was about 4,000 people. That's a huge show. Leo made jokes targeting the elderly, Black and indigenous Brazilians, people with HIV, the LGBTQ community, Christians, Jews, people with disabilities, and even referenced pedophilia in his routine. Wow, he was just trying to break a record, I think, of offending as many groups as possible in one single stand-up comedy set. I noticed he didn't make fun of the furries or Trekkies, but perhaps when he gets out of jail he can have a whole new set. I'm sure he's working on it right now. The video got 3 million views on YouTube and sparked a wave of public backlash for what critics described as offensive and discriminatory content. That's a shame. You should have just come to America, where bigots are given political positions. You could have got away with all of this. Among the jokes included in the performance were statements such as, "I'm totally against pedophilia. I'm more in favor of incest. If you're going to abuse a child, abuse your own. What's he going to do? Tell his dad?" All right, well, I mean, that's a joke. You know, is anybody sitting there going, "Oh my God, he's serious"? It's not a good joke, but it is a joke. Here's another one. "I'm fat. I love eating and I hate working out. How am I going to lose weight? Get AIDS. Don't you love eating everything? Go sleep with unprotected gay men. It'll work out eventually." Now, I don't even understand that, because I guess if you have AIDS, you lose weight. Again, a bad joke. You wouldn't be jailed for this in the States, but maybe the laws on speech in Brazil are very strict. I'm not familiar with them. I've never done comedy down there either. I don't think I want to be honest with you. Here's another one of his jokes that he got in trouble for. "Prejudice, to me, is a primitive thing that shouldn't exist anymore, just like indigenous people." Again, it's a bad joke. It's just not, I don't know, who's taking this seriously? But the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office took it seriously, filed charges under 2 Brazilian laws related to discrimination and hate crimes, apparently. Law 7.716/1989, commonly referred to as the Anti-Racism Law, criminalizes the practice, incitement, or promotion of discrimination based on race, color, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. It comes with an automatic basic prison sentence of 2 to 5 years, with increased penalties if the offense occurs during a public cultural or artistic event meant for entertainment. He also broke Law 13.146, known as the Statute of Persons with Disabilities, which criminalizes acts of discrimination against individuals on the basis of disability. The base sentence ranges from 1 to 3 years in prison, with enhancements up to 5 years if the offense is committed through any media channels. I guess this explains his 8-year total sentence. Racism has been criminalized since the 1950s in Brazil, a country where 10% of the population identifies as fully black, while over 50% identify as Afro-descendant, and 0.8% of the population identifies as indigenous. There's a comment on this from Freedom House, which is a Washington, D.C. based nonprofit that monitors democracy around the world. They say, quote, "Although people are rarely charged or imprisoned for racist or discriminatory speech, Brazilian law establishes penalties ranging from 2 to 5 years in prison for practicing or inciting discrimination based on race, ethnicity, or religion in the media or other publications." So, I mean, obviously this is known, well known, I assume, and the comedian was probably aware of it. I mean, if this is your job, you have to kind of be aware of what the laws are regarding hate speech and discrimination, etc., etc. The comedian's legal team claims the court's decision is a threat to freedom of speech and has framed it as an attempt to criminalize comedy. His attorneys say they plan to appeal the ruling. The comedian remains free during the appeals process. The comedian Lin is widely recognized in Brazil's comedy scene for his politically incorrect, often abrasive, offensive humor. He has a substantial online following with over 3 million followers. Wow, 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. With these awful jokes, he's got this many followers. Well, people just like shock humor, I guess. But, I mean, this guy sounds to me like a really bad joke writer, if we're being honest. Leo's conviction, it says, has drawn expressions of solidarity from fellow comedians, some of whom see the case as setting a dangerous precedent for artistic freedom in Brazil. Comedian and television host Danilo Gentili said, "What was comedian Leo Lin's crime? Telling jokes in a comedy show?" I mean, in that country, it seems like it is a crime. So, yeah, it's a crime. If you did this in North Korea, it would be a crime. I know of someone who was arrested in Malaysia because of anti-Islamic related humor. So not every country has the same freedom of speech that we get to enjoy in the United States, unfortunately, which makes it more difficult if you're a stand-up comedian in those places. And you should, I don't know, move out. That's one thing you can do, is just get the hell out of a country that's like that. Why would you want to live in a place that limits your freedom of expression if you are an artist that depends on your words? You know, it's times like this that I'm very thankful that I am a comedian in the U.S. where, you know, although there is a cancel culture thing and, you know, certain generations seem to be easily offended compared to some other places in the world. I mean, I enjoy the freedom of being able to say whatever I want pretty much on stage within reason. Now, bigger picture, I believe there are larger problems in Brazil than just offensive words. So and that's, from that point of view, it seems really silly and juvenile to be spending community resources to imprison a comedian that does awful racist jokes. They're just not even good. So, I mean, I'd imagine there's people living in Brazil right now who are having a hard time making ends meet, you know, due to a struggling economy. And so they might be, like, confused as to why this is a thing. I know I would be. And from what I'm reading, this guy's kind of known for that. Here's a quote from him in 2022 about his comedy set. "I make jokes about everything and everyone. What show could be more inclusive? I even hired a sign language interpreter at my shows just to be able to offend the deaf mutes." So yeah, this guy's a shock, offensive comedian. This is his thing. I'd imagine this isn't his first brush with the courts either, if this has been his thing for a while. I don't know that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Should this guy do any prison time at all for jokes? Drop me a note, funnyjones@gmail.com, or on Instagram @funnyjones. Got a phone number here, 646-450-2012. A German politician strips naked and asks open-minded citizens to join him on a swingers trip to France. Finally, a politician is just totally upfront and honest about wanting to screw the citizens. Let's get some details about this. A local German politician has gotten some backlash from fellow councilors after he stripped completely naked and called on residents to join him on a swingers trip to France. Well, I mean, honestly, that sounds like a good time. It sounds like a lot better than what's going on in where I live in Los Angeles. Can I join you guys on the swingers trip to France? Let me get some information and find out what time the bang bus is leaving. Julian Ferrat is a councilor at Mannheim City in southwest Germany and a representative of the local political party Die Meinheim. Julian said the 8-day trip to a swinger hotspot in the south of France is to investigate how it became a global hub in nudist and sex tourism and how this can help boost Mannheim's local economy. Oh, so he claims he's going here for research purposes so he can somehow use swingers resorts to boost his own local economy. He's researching sex tourism, apparently. I didn't know that was big business. This politician has gained plenty of attention for this, and obviously some pushback from fellow councilors, who, among other things, probably don't want to see their fellow politicians naked. I know I don't want to see any of my politicians naked, really, except maybe AOC. She seems kind of cute. Didn't we have a U.S. senator mistakenly send a nude photo of herself at, like, a meeting? Something. I think that did happen. It's a circus over here, so anything's really believable. All right, let's get back into the story here. It all came to light when this particular politician did a photo shoot and a story for a local gazette. He appeared naked on the beach with only a sign covering his genitals. The headline read, "Political Education Trip to France." This politician, Julian, said in the article, the naturalist village in Cap d'Agde, I don't know how you say this, Cap d'Agde, this is considered a mecca in France for nudists and swingers. What few people know, without government support for tourism, this place would have never been created. Oh, so France's government pours resources into sexy tourism? I didn't know that. Now, this particular German politician has called for, quote, curious and open-minded citizens to accompany him on the trip, which will involve the training camp to ensure that no participant heads into the resort, quote, unprepared. So he's preparing you for a swingers resort. I'm sure there's some sexy videos to watch. The training camp involves outdoor sex on the Freisenheimer Insel in Mannheim. Have you been to the Freisenheimer Insel in Mannheim? Is that a good place for some outdoor sex training? This guy stressed that the training camp will, quote, exclude the media to protect the participants' privacy. Wow, this dude is seriously trying to move on with this plan. Did anyone tell him this is a bad idea? Anyone in his camp? You know, these politicians all have a camp. I don't know what goes on in those camps. Probably a lot of grifting is my guess. And alcohol. Now, the German politician can't sing enough praises about this place, Cap d'Agde. He says, over there, sex on the beach is taken literally, and anyone who's always wanted to shop naked in the supermarket can easily indulge that desire. Having sex in your own bedroom is different than on the beach with a group of masturbating men, like in Cap d'Agde. He claims a great deal can be learned from this village, which is a leading naturist resort on the Mediterranean coast with professional swinger clubs and privately run nude restaurants, bars, and a nude beach. Well, he's really into this, and I'm sure the voters known prior to this, he wouldn't have been voted in. He was saving this one for when he got into office. It's like, I got a wild card, and once I get in office, I'm going to push for my all-naked grocery stores, restaurants, bars, and beaches. I don't think this is a good idea. But then again, I'm not really familiar with the German mindset. I know they have topless beaches and public pools and whatnot, which I mean, that's not that out of the ordinary. I don't think that's crazy. But this idea, bringing the sex tourism full throttle into your community, might be a little nuts for people to handle. Now, it says the other local politicians have not expressed their support, with one councillor calling it embarrassing and idiotic. Here's a quote from this person named Christian. I find the call idiotic because I believe it actually harms politics. I don't see anything sensible in it that will move the city or the people of this city forward. In fact, it's just a bit embarrassing. This article ends with, this is not the first time Councillor Farrat has stripped naked before. Last year he published an introduction to himself in the official Gazette alongside a photo of himself naked with his hands covering his genitals. It's a very odd councillor. He seems a little confused, in my opinion. He's acting as though he's the councillor of Burning Man instead of a small town in Germany. But I don't know. I can't speak for the people over there. Is this not as shocking as I think it is? Anybody living over there that listens to this podcast? I highly doubt it, but you might get a free trip to a swingers convention, it sounds like. Is it paid for by the state, the whole trip over to Cap d'Agde? Well, I wish him luck with his dream of upping the sex tourism and bringing swingers bars over to his country. I don't think it's going to work, but you might want to start small and build up to that. Maybe just organize some orgasmic meditation groups first, and then move on to the naked grocery shopping. A new law that punishes bad drivers with a technology that forces cars to go the speed limit. So beware, bad drivers. Some states in the U.S. are passing new laws that punish reckless driving with devices that actually control your vehicle's top speed. Washington State recently became the second state in the U.S., joining Virginia, to enact this law, placing speed-limiting technology inside cars of drivers with reckless driving records. Oh, so they put a device in there that doesn't allow you to go very fast. If you've had some issues in the past with being a reckless driver. How about some technology that makes people use their turn signal as well? I would support that for sure. Or technology that shuts off your phone if you're looking at it while you're driving, like in your hand. Not if you have it up and you're looking at the map, but I'm saying there's a lot of texting and driving going on. There's a lot of young people on their phone, just in their hands, scrolling Instagram and TikTok as they're driving. Technology that shuts that down, I would be very much in favor of. I don't think that exists yet. Now allow me to bring you the details of this new law Washington Governor Bob Ferguson signed. It requires drivers whose licenses are suspended in Washington for reckless driving to have intelligence speed assistance, ISA, devices. They would install these in their cars if they ever want to drive again immediately. So they do allow them back on the road, just with the limitation. The anti-speeding technology would monitor the driver's speed and prevent their vehicle from going over local speed limits. The law comes as Washington's State's Traffic Safety Commission reported that fatal crashes involving speeding drivers increased nearly 40% in the last 5 years. This new legislation was inspired by a crash when 4 individuals, including 3 children, were killed when their car was struck by a driver going 112 miles per hour. The law is going into effect January 2029. So far away. They always do this. We got this new thing. Here's the problem. We have a problem. People are dying because of XYZ. So let's put out a new law that'll help keep people from dying because of XYZ. When should the law go into effect? Oh, I don't know, 2045? How about that? I mean, what is the point? It's just like it takes forever. Government is so slow and inefficient. Man, it's just embarrassing. How much do these people get paid? The anti-speeding technology laws nationwide come as similar bills have been filed in at least 5 other states seeking to crack down on repeat reckless drivers. In April, Virginia became the first state in the nation to enact anti-speeding technology legislation, requiring intelligent speed assistant devices for those convicted of driving more than 100 miles per hour. The Intelligent Speed Assistance Program in Virginia is considered an alternative. The law there allows judges to require ISA devices for drivers with repeat reckless driving offenses who don't want their licenses suspended. The devices are small enough to fit on an air vent and would stop drivers from exceeding the speed limit over there. I guess it's better than the alternative, though, if you want to continue driving. So you're going to accept this. You know, you got to get to work after all. It's pretty easy to drive over 100, by the way. Not in Los Angeles, but in other places where there's less traffic. Where I live, it's just a big win if you can get up to 60 miles an hour on the local freeways here. It's like you can at like, I don't know, midnight, kind of. It says in this article, actually, California has considered taking similar technology, and they've thought of going further, including a failed bill targeting every vehicle in the state, whether or not you've had a reckless driving record or not. California's current ISA bill is stalled in the state assembly. Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a measure last year that would have made it the first such law in the U.S. The bill required that every new vehicle sold or leased in California in 2030 be equipped with a passive intelligent speed assistance system to alert drivers when they exceeded the speed limit by more than 10 miles per hour. So not exactly the same. You can still drive over the speed limit. It would just alert you when you do drive over the speed limit. And I don't know. I assume that's probably going to be normal in vehicles in the future at some point. They have that lane assistance now that lets you know when you're driving in the other lane. Sometimes the vehicle kind of prevents you from driving into the other lane unless you put on your directional. So I'd imagine going forward there's going to be, it beeps when you're going too fast. Yeah, okay, got it. I mean, I just don't want to be prevented from driving over the speed limit if I feel like going over the speed limit. There are times when, I drive over the speed limit. It's necessary. But, when you consider where cars are going, everything's going to be self-driving in the future anyways. We're not going to be controlling any of this. It's just going to be all left up to the car. I mean, not in 10 years, but can you imagine like 30 years from now? It's like all self-driving cars. I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, setting my fantasy football lineup, watching some porn, just enjoying my time as the car does everything. And at that point, I mean, I'm not even liable for a speeding ticket. I just blame it on the car. No, listen, I didn't want to go fast, but the car wanted to go fast. It's not me. So, I mean, you can write a ticket, but you just, you write it out to Honda and not me.
I listen to weird AF news. It's free.
Hi, my loyal listeners and friends of the show. Thanks for spending some time with me in the Weird AF News podcast. Please tell a friend if you have a friend. I want to give thanks to someone who wrote me a lovely review on Apple Podcasts. It's user Super Sigma, who it says is a literal 12-year-old. I got kids coming out of the woodwork writing reviews of my podcast. It's kind of fascinating. I didn't know that teenagers and whatnot listen to this. I got 5 stars from Super Sigma, though, who wrote, "This podcast is Super Sigma Alpha Male." I'm not sure what that means, but I think it's a compliment. Sigma writes, "I love it very much. You have many Riz, and I bet you get lots of huzz. This podcast is better. The Skibadi is better than the Skibadi toilet. It takes a lot to be better than Skibadi toilet. Skibadi toilet? I don't even know what this is. What's a Skibadi toilet? Hold on, let's look this up. Apparently I'm cooler than a Skibadi toilet. Oh, it's Skibidi toilet. Skibidi. It's an animation from 2023, it looks like. You spelled Skibidi wrong. I wouldn't have known. This thing looks weird. I'm going to describe it to you. This is an animated web series that follows a war between toilets with human heads coming out of their bowls and humanoid characters with electronic devices for heads. Since the first short was posted February 2023, Skibidi Toilet has become viral as an internet meme on various social media platforms, particularly among Generation Alpha, which is what I believe this Super Sigma is. Yeah, 12 years old. That's Generation Alpha, right? I didn't know about the Skibidi Toilet. I might have to check this out. You know why? Because it seems really weird and possibly funny. Talking heads in toilets? Wow. I couldn't have even thought of such a thing unless I was on, some substances. I mean, you better believe that the creators of this were definitely on some substances. And now that I know the kids are listening to this podcast, I don't condone that. I don't condone any of that. All right, say no to drugs, everybody. Get good grades, stay in school. You know how it goes. Anyways, shout out to Super Sigma and all the kids that listen to this. There's a few apparently. Hey, so listen, tomorrow is going to be Florida Friday. As you know, on Friday, I only do weird news from Florida. Maybe you don't know, but now that you're listening for the first time, now here's the news. Tomorrow it's just Florida weird news. If you come across some weird Florida stories, email me, funnyjones@gmail.com. And or DM me, slide into my DMs, put the article in my DMs at funnyjones. How about that? If you want to support the show, write me a review or tell your best pal.